glowing bright on a dark horizon. Found a spark, now my heart's ignited.
Welcome back to Off the Mat with MelMarie. I'm excited to talk with you guys today about one of the most common questions I get and about self-care, which, this stuff is like buzzwords and all that. But the reality is that just like most yoga teachers and wellness entrepreneurs and, holistic healing, all like these people, we always get questions of like, well, what is your day-to-day rituals, your daily practices? What do you do for self-care? And I want to actually propose something that's a little counter to what we're socialized for what self-care is that self-care is not something you do, but it's who you are. So I perceive self-care as a state of consciousness. And when I say that something is a state of consciousness, what I mean is that it's really about the consciousness of which, so the mindset, the perspective, the reality, the meality, all the perceptual aspects of you. That what you perceive through the lens that you see the world through is coded in this concept. So when I say that self-care is a state of consciousness, it's that you're coding your eyes or your lens of how you see the world through self-care. And what this means is it's like every now moment you're deciding whether you're going to do something that's more well for you or less well, right? It's like every now moment, what am I doing that is more well or less well? And this goes into that in each now moment, how am I nourishing myself? How am I filling up my own cup and ensuring that I'm giving from a place of have? How am I contributing in a way that's nourishing for others and that my presence elevates the people around me? And so this concept of beingness, that self-care is in my beingness, it's not what I do, it's who I am, really liberates this belief or attachment that we have to perform. Because there's a lot of performative elements that mainstream self-care has really pushed down our throats. It's like, well, if you don't have your lemon water every morning, or if you don't take time to meditate, then you're not practicing self-care. And I just believe that's not true. I think that each unique individual has their own nature of what works for them, what doesn't. And depending on what season you are in your life, whether it's astrological, whether it's life changes and things going on, like literally your kid now is in elementary school, right? Like these different seasons that we go through, different versions of ourselves will ask for a different illustration of what self-care looks like for you. Because, self-care for me years ago might have been like taking time. I was making malas. That was like so delicious for me when I actually had a beautiful big bathtub, because my house, we have bathtubs, but they're not like I had this beautiful big bathtub. Like I was taking baths more regularly. Like it depends on what your life and the infrastructure of where you're at is that determines like what your self-care looks like. So I'm going to share my things, but I want to just point out that it's not really it's the beingness that I have a state of consciousness of self-care, that I perceive things through the lens of self-care. It's an attitude. It's not something I do. It's who I am, and that this changes and I adapt. So like, for example, I might have a daily routine, but if my kiddo has to stay home from school one day because she's not feeling good, how do I adapt, right? And I think that's part of the issue is where we don't have sustainability with self-care is because people don't know how to adapt. It's about like resilience is in the self-care. Self-care is resilience. It's our ability to, whether I'm flying on a plane and traveling or, I have my normal work week, whatever it is, that it doesn't really matter what my life looks like. It's about how it feels. It's that, am I provoking and awakening the feeling of it, the beingness. So I want to use an example. There's like the things when I teach Art of Living Well, for example, I talk about non-negotiables, and that your non-negotiables may change, but for some people it's like, nah, if I don't get sleep, like I need sleep, right? You know, for me, it's like I definitely need daughter time with my kiddo, right? Or I really have this thing where I need to rinse in the shower before I go to bed. I do it as a clearing. So like there's different techniques and things that people may do that are kind of their non-negotiables. But also like you can be very creative with like what works for you, because even just the way my office is set up is self-care. And it's funny, I was actually going to say something about my cats, like taking time, like when my cats like sit on me, I almost feel that it's like, all right, pause and unplug and just be with it. I think our animals are mirrors and invitations into deeper realms of self-care more than we really understand. They're such gifts for that. And it could even be like what you're listening to. So I want to invite you first, think about how you engage all your senses in your day-to-day, like the sounds you hear, the way you feel. And I look at the feelingness of like, what am I wearing? You know, being comfortable is so important for me. And of course, I'm a movement facilitator. So like I move a lot and teach yoga classes, but also I like to cuddle up and be super cozy, and it's just what I like. But there's been seasons of my life where I was like in rompers and I had a different style. So I just want to point out that it just evolves. So the feeling, and then the smells. What smells do you have around you? Are you using that candle that you bought that you're saving for the right moment? Are you using it? You know, when we think about the sights, like are the colors, what are you stimulated by, and what you see around you, especially in your home, because your home is your sanctuary. It's where you go to plug in to recharge so you can go out in the world and do your magic. So it's like, let's work with the earth of things. What is around you? What are your senses engaging in? And then from there, like knowing that that is self-care, that those are rituals, like that self-awareness is a ritual for your self-care. So this season I'm in right now, I have a sauna in my house because I love sauna so much. And actually I like to do it in the morning, but I don't go in there and I sweat for an hour. I don't do that. What I do is wake up, usually actually if my husband is able to, because he's in the military, so he wakes up super early, turn it on. So when I roll out of bed, it's like the perfect temperature, and I'm in there for about 20 minutes. I get to that right at that peak of sweat, but not entirely sweating. And I do this because it breaks up kapha. So if you're familiar with Ayurveda, morning is very kapha. That's why we're so groggy and it just feels so slow. And it really helps me clear that out so I can get up, get ready, and get the day going, or take my kiddo to school, right? So it's like, I think about what are things that I do to break up that kapha energy. So that is the first thing that I like to do, or rinse. Again, I'm a big like rinse in the shower, but I like to rinse at night. It's very important. I think about when I'm rinsing at night, it's like clearing off the day and purifying my slate, my mental slate, my body, to receive the restoration that I'm entering. Like I look at like sleep is like a refuge, like I'm entering in this refuge. And I'm pointing out, like, you see how perception and intention is so big around this stuff, because even if I can't get into a shower like a night, maybe we're traveling or I'm driving or I don't know, right? Whatever the reason is, I can still do clearing. Like I know I like to clear myself. Or if I don't have access to my sauna, there's other ways to break up that heavy morning energy. Also, I'm the type I could sleep until like, 10, 12. If everybody left me alone, I would just sleep in. So I need like that energy in the morning, or I need sunlight. I need light to penetrate and awaken me. So that's something that I'm very consistent on.
Imagine a program that supports your heart desires, works directly with you to unpack and transform beliefs, patterns, and tensions that hold you back, and teaches you to utilize asana, breath, meditation practices, inquiry, and other yogic tools to not only change your world, but extend to others as well. Our program is known for going above and beyond to provide you a person-centered experience while equipping you with the required expectations from Yoga Alliance. Visit our website for more information.
Another thing that I'm really passionate about is what I'm consuming in the morning. And I used to get those coffee crashes, and I'm not here to like advertise something, but I do drink mud water. I love like it's like a tonic that has chai and mushrooms and all types of really lovely things for your health. And so that's what I start my day with, is my mud water. And it's funny because like I use frothers, but they break so easy. Like who else? Like I don't know if is it me, but they break so fast. So I'm just like, I've had it with frothers. I just like dump it in my blender, and then that loud volcano sound, I'm just like, it wakes me up. It wakes everybody up. So that's what I do in the morning. You know, I also like to, what am I listening to? It's funny because I listen to something called the Daily Pep Talk, and it's about the astrological, like what's going on in astrology right now, like the transits, and then also how I can set intentions and just reflect. And then also I like to have some conversations with God about, because I really am big about co-creation. And I think part of this, when we talk about self-care, that the reason I'm pulling in some spiritual hygiene into this, other than I think it's really hard to be into yoga and mindfulness without having some element of spiritual hygiene, and I'm sure I'll talk more about that. But it's like when I realize and remember that I am co-creating with God, it allows me to just exhale a little bit. Like with self-care, for example, if I feel like I gotta go and get all this stuff done, but I don't let God do some of the work too, because there's so much to surrender. And when I'm met in my prayer, and He matches my prayers with His miracles, and when I'm met in my prayer, when I'm met in my pauses, you know, sometimes it's just as simple as just intending and then showing up, doing it, and then surrendering. So self-care is this aspect of surrender, and I have a knowingness, which, you know, this stuff, having a knowingness, like I like to say when people go, oh, I'm hoping for this, or I'm wanting this, or, you know, I'm trying to do this, I always say, like, reframe. It's like I have a knowingness. I have a knowingness that I'm supported, and I'm co-creating with God. I'm co-creating with the divine unfolding. So I allow what comes, like what I welcome, like I practice this welcoming presence. And this is something that I train in my meditations. Like, and I will tell you guys, and for anyone who meditates or practices pausing or even yoga and mindfulness tools, at first it's so daunting and it's so difficult. I actually avoided meditation. I started practicing in 2009, started teaching in 2011, and then I didn't touch meditation until 2014. And then even then, it was kind of like, oh, okay. Not a big fan of it, but like I'm familiar. I've done it. I've done the Oprah and Deepak Chopra, you know, meditations. I'm good. But then it wasn't until 2020 I just like sank in and really like met myself in that discomfort. And what I realized is that it's normal. It's okay. It's not like there's no emptying the mind. There's so much. And maybe I'll do a whole video about meditation. I do have some of those, but anyways, meditation or pausing, journaling, reflecting, and something that I'm going to close us with today, just to kind of give you a context of how you can set intentions. It's kind of similar to what I did last week with the cards. I love cards because, again, it's like we're co-creating, right? And having a sounding board, and it's good to have people that are sounding boards. It's good to have friends that are sounding boards. But sometimes, whether something's just really intimate and personal, or you just need it now, like you just need it now, and you need a bounce back voice. You need something to like bounce your ideas off of. I love utilizing cards for that because it can get you just provoking thought, like, and exploring and taking inquiry and reframing. And sometimes, usually, most of the time, it's like stupid spot on. So this week, what I want to do is first get you to think about the state of consciousness concept. How do you walk through your life in your beingness? That self-care is not what you do, it's who you are. Because whether I drink my mud water in the morning or not, in the morning I still have this mindfulness. Like there's been times that I didn't have my mud water. And so what do? Okay, well, I really love something warm just to cozy up with. So yeah, I might have a coffee or I might heat up tea. Like there's lots of different ways. You know, if I can't, you know, if the sun's not bright and I don't get to get my sunlight, you know, it's just turn all the lights on in the house. I know what I need to awaken my body. And then throughout the day, you know, I'm not somebody who rolls out the mat for a 60-minute yoga practice for myself every day. And I actually kind of challenge that because one is the practicality of actually doing that, especially for yoga teachers who teach full time. That's a lot on the body to put that pressure and judgment. For some people, it totally works. And if it works for you, amazing. But not everybody it works. And what I have seen over working with hundreds, probably actually thousands of people, is that this belief that I have to do it this way and have it like this to be good enough, it actually does more harm than good. Because if we're not honoring and embracing ourselves as like how we are and in the moment, then we end up diluting our own journey, our own process. And so what I say is, like, if you're somebody where it's not practical to like roll out your mat and do 60 minutes of yoga a day, what I suggest, and this is what I do, I call it living like you practice. So throughout the day, I do stretches and movements all the time. I do some practice in the shower. I do it while I'm, waiting for my pasta to boil, in the car. It's like I'm always adapting my body and stretching and checking in and maintaining those motions. When I get anxious, you better believe that hand to heart, hand to belly, and just taking a moment to ground, or I'm in downward facing dog to diffuse that nervous energy. So I almost use the poses like medicine or as a tool to pacify that. Like if I'm navigating, what do I need from my body? And just checking in throughout the day. What do I need in my body? What do I need? And building this co-creative relationship within, which then really allows me to practice that listening, that co-creative energy with God. And so that's like an aspect that throughout the day, movement for sure, it's imperative. I need it. I feel it. You probably feel the same. And then some days I'm really blessed where I do get to get a full yoga practice in, or I get to go to a studio, or I get to go and do a bike ride or go for a walk or do something. I'm not just into yoga. I like other fitness modalities as well. Except I'm not going to lie, like people who are obsessed with the HIIT work, what is it? HITT? I don't know. I gotta just tell a funny story. So I'm a Lululemon ambassador, or what do they call it? Legacy ambassador. I was a Lululemon ambassador for our San Antonio Lululemon, and I will never forget this. We did like an event with Lulu, and we went to this like HIIT workout place. I'm like, I haven't done one of these before. Okay, I've seen it on like YouTube or like F45, things like that are super popular right now. So I was like, cool, I got this. And as we're going through the stations, I had this big realization that I'm probably like athletic wise, like I'm a Lululemon ambassador, but the truth is it's like, give me the Shavasana. Can we just stretch and feel good? I mean, I was like dying, but I digress. The whole point is I can do a little bit like, your 15-minute, 20-minute, but geez, these full hours. Yeah, I don't know. I love to sweat. I just love to sweat. So I prefer hot yoga and yoga, or sauna, sitting in the sauna. I don't know. Maybe I talk about like, I'm all about finding your cozy. So I'm going to go through seasons nonetheless, just like most of us and you, whoever's listening, there's a lot of different expressions of movement, but ensuring that I'm moving my body throughout the day, that's a non-negotiable, right? And also I always have something to hydrate with, always have a drink with me, always have water with me. There's just something cozy and grounding about that for me. So that's, it's like, what are these little things? Think about what you need for yourself. These nourishing little things. I always have my oils with me in case like I just need a moment to regulate or just want to feel good, right? It's almost like part of it is this block where we just don't give ourselves permission to feel good. And so that's something I'm always like giving permission of, if I just take a few sips of water, I'm probably going to feel better. Or wow, I feel really good to roll down my windows and while I'm driving, right? So it's like exploring and then having this adventure, right? It's like choosing our own adventures in our lives. So I want to invite you, like, let the wheels turn on this, starting to think about this, because that's how you create a life you don't need to escape from. Doesn't mean things aren't hard or things don't happen. It's just getting creative and being playful. And that when my routine or something steps in and something changes, and I will admit, I am someone, I don't really do routine. Like my days look different every single day. I did once upon a time, not too long ago, did experience like, what would a Monday through Friday look like? It's a great opportunity, amazing opportunity. I'm not fit for like same day kind of schedules. So but that's just my type. Now, you might be somebody who really stick to routine and thrive in routine. So it's like how we adapt to when things get disrupted, right? How do we adapt? And then it's in our self-care that we do that. So I hope there's some gems here. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to say on this topic. It's really up to you. No one else is accountable for your self-care other than you. Nobody else is accountable to your well-being other than you. And wellness is not a destination. These things are not a destination. It's an ever-evolving, ongoing process of self-reflection and our responsibility to it. And so my hope is that just like understanding it's not this performative thing, it's a perspective, it's a frame of mind, it's a state of consciousness. And how you're in relationship with your self-care really optimizes how you're in relationship with others and with yourself and in your surrender to the divine. And so my hope is that this kind of invites some fun, playful inquiry, and please don't hesitate to reach out with questions. So to close this, I'm going to give you guys, we're going to do a little intention setting and clearing for the week. So just stay tuned. All right, so I am going to use this deck, Moonology. I don't know if you guys can see it. This was a gift from one of my dearest friends. So I love this deck. But it's the Moonology Manifestation. And what you do is we're going to shuffle the cards. And for this week, we're going to ask what would be, and this is just for soundboarding and thinking about where to start. What is most optimal for your self-care? What is most nourishing for you? What do you need to be well? How can you nourish yourself and take this forth? And we shuffle. What do we need? What is coming for you? All right. So I want you to think of a number, 1, 2, or 3. Okay. So we got 1, 2, 3. All right. So I'm going to set these aside. Let's start with if you picked 1. So you got attend to the details. And this is last quarter moon in Virgo. Let's see if you can get a woo. Okay. I like looking at the pictures because there just might be something there. Okay. Attend to the details. And then what we do is you just go and you could go and you can read the book for guides, but I just want to actually just share what is coming through for me about if you picked 1 and you're being called to attend to the details, it is so easy for us to just put things under the rug and look a different way. And what we do, we might say, oh, in the name of self-care, I'm not going to show up to this. In the name of self-care, I can't deal with this right now. But what happens is when we are avoidant, it builds up, it builds up, it builds up, and then it actually permeates into our subconscious. So we're operating from a place of lack of awareness, essentially. It's like, why do you feel irritable? And you don't really know where to put your finger on it, but it's because you keep stuffing that thing back there. And it is asking to be seen. And when things are bugging us or coming up, it's asking for us to see it so we can release it. And when you pay attention to the details versus just moving, like swipe it to the side, just get it done, but pay attention to the details. It's in the details that you will discover more teaching, right? I look at everything as curriculum. So what is the curriculum of this experience? It's in the details that you're really going to learn who you are and who you're not. You're going to really understand where you're playing a role in that scenario or in that relationship. Like, what character are you playing, and more about yourself. Another thing too is attending to the details of, let's start with our home. Do the details of your home and your environment feel good? Going back to the senses. The details of your relationship. Sometimes it's just the simple I love yous, or the simple just affirmations that we can give. The simple things of just like picking a few things up and doing something for our loved ones. Very simple stuff, the details. They say love is in the details. So if you picked 1, I would suggest that you're being invited to really reflect on how you're attending to your details. are you avoiding? And if you are avoiding, what is it that needs to come up and out to be released? It has to come up and out to be released. We don't just like push it down and out. There's like this process of it, because when we go down, oftentimes it doesn't come out. It's this, we need to go through this cycle, because usually what happens is you bring it up, out to release, and then if you think about the process of an inhale, it comes up, in and up and out, and then down and out. That whole flow is part of the releasing and letting go, because you don't really let go of things if you're not conscious to it. You don't see it. And if you're being called to look at the details, I want to invite you, versus just rushing to fix or change, become aware, learn about it. Can you find a rhythm to the details? What are the patterns that you're seeing yourself in? And then gently and kindly and compassionately start to negotiate those. Here's my number ones. All right, number 2. You guys if you picked number 2, you picked relax. So you can see, relax. So if you pick number 2, you're being called, this is new moon in Cancer, you're being called to relax. When part of relaxing, in order to relax, we have to also receive. So you're being invited to surrender a little bit of the doing, the controlling, the fixing, the solving, and to receiving the answers, relaxing into the present moment. And relaxation can be a really triggering and challenging thing, especially because we're like, okay, why can't I just relax? And I want to just invite you to understand the power of an exhale. And if you just take a big breath in with me, and sigh it out, and just meet yourself at the bottom of that exhale. Allow your body, because again, going back to our philosophy, if I just tell myself to relax, it's not going to work. And when we look at it from Vedic philosophy, the kosha model, we got to go through the body, through energy, to the instinctual mind, and then the discerning mind. So I got to address my body. What do I need to do? Where am I feeling irritable? Why am I feeling tense? And then as you use your breath, exhaling and maybe even visualizing just a restorative energy coming to you, that you're just like a sponge soaking up restorative energy. And as you do that, then the mind begins to soften, maybe noticing your thoughts. And I like to invite people to separate their mind into that, like who are the voices in your head? Do you have the bully? Do you have the love, the child? This, somebody in your life, right? Like notice the voices, and then even connecting with your higher self voice of like this wise, unconditional, loving voice, and just giving yourself permission to relax. So if you pick number 2, you're being called, self-care is in your relaxation. Surrender it, let it go. It's not going to go anywhere. You can, very different from the first group. You can set it aside for right now. And how can you relax? Create a little space. Clarity, we discover clarity in space. We don't discover clarity in clutter. So I want to remind you, it's like, how do you soften and just dissolve a little bit in your life? And then checking in, noticing the bounce back voice, noticing what you want to bring your mind to that's nourishing. And if you don't know what relaxes you, this is an invitation to do some journaling, listing, inquiry, reflection. You might be someone who you relax by going to the range. Well, then go to the range, make that a priority. You might be somebody who relaxes when you're watching The Bachelor. Then go watch The Bachelor. Don't judge your self-care. What helps you relax? And honor that. Okay, so my number 3s, you guys got Shine. So this is a pretty card. Look at that, little sunflowers, so cute, so pretty. Shine, new moon in Leo. So if you pick number 3, what is coming really strong with this is this concept that it's time to let your light be exposed. If you're hiding your light, you're hurting yourself. Your self-care is calling you to step and shine out, to express your light. Let yourself be seen. Why are you hiding? Don't hide. You don't have to hide anymore. And maybe in the past, hiding served you because it felt like protection, but I almost feel like you're about outgrown this. And it's really this time where it's almost like once you open the blinds, the light's gonna spill in. And it's almost like there are people in your life and work that you're part of and things you're involved in that are begging for your light to spill in. It's okay. Let them hear your voice. Let them see your gifts. Share your light. Maybe do one thing today that awakens light to the surface, that you can share that with others, and that you can bring your life forth and let your light forth. And I want to remind you guys, what's interesting is you see this new moon. New moons are full of shadows. Anytime you stand in the light, there will be a shadow. I can tell you personally, it's like, I want everybody to love me and like me. And I just, there's people I've never met that just like don't like me. And it's like, what in the world, right? But here's the truth. And when you stand in the light, there will always be a shadow. So if you're scared to put your light out there because you're afraid that someone's gonna not like you or have something to say, is that really about you or is that about them? Are you attached to them and their belief and perspective, or are you gonna connect more with God, the vertical, the divine of how you want your life to unfold? We are captive to wherever we give our power. And anytime, nobody takes your power, you give your power away. So if you're being called to shine, it's like call that power back. And it's just every now moment, you just practice it. And you might fall back into fear. You might fall into these moments because you're human. And that's okay. Just come back. It's like, oh, the light got dimmed, turn it back on. Oop, the light got dimmed, turn it back on. If you pick number 3, you're being called to let your light shine, to share, to put yourself out there. So, maybe there's one little thing that you can maybe voice your how you're feeling about something, or voice your input, or post that post, start that thing, announce that announcement, right? Or just let yourself glow. It's part of your nature. This would not have fallen into your state of awareness without it. So there's some self-care card drawing for you guys. May you be well and feel connected and cozy and all the things. And thanks for tuning in to Off the Mat with MelMarie. I want to remind you guys, if you want some movement, definitely don't hesitate to go to our virtual studio, melmarie.studio. We have yoga classes on there and stuff too. But I want to invite you with self-care because the theme is that self-care is a state of consciousness, even though I'm kind of like, okay, well, I could take you guys through something briefly. I want to invite you to listen to the intuitive voice of your body for what you need. Like if you feel like you need to reach your arms up, reach your arms up. If you feel like you need to rotate your wrist, rotate your wrist. Stop going everywhere but your own heart for answers, because everything is within. Thank you. Share. If you love this video, share it. Subscribe to Off the Mat with MelMarie. We appreciate you, and I'll see you next week.